Good morning. Wow, wow. Let me do that again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, that is a novelty. Welcome to our Sunday service, Unitarian Universalist Church of Augusta, April 25th, our grand opening again. This morning's service will be by our minister, Reverend Don Cameron. When we really look at one another, and what a great title that is for right now. When I came in this morning, I was telling one of the greeters that I'm going to take this home and I'm going to nail it to my wall as a souvenir, because this really means a lot to me, to see people again. And there are so many new people. And it's not just because I haven't seen the people I knew for a year, but I see people that I'm pretty sure I didn't know. There. I wish you could see it. And it feels so good to say good morning and hear voices coming back at me and not just a computer screen. Thank you. David?
Good morning, everybody. I was only in the sanctuary for a moment, but it's very exciting to see all the people in there. For those of you who are wondering if you're in church service, I'm broadcasting from the music ministry room, and you're certainly welcome to stop by and say hello after the service. Our opening hymn today is hymn number 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. It's a familiar hymn, and we are led this morning on this hymn by Amanda Main from our choir.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. While the hope of life's perfection fills our hearts with joy and love, teach us ever to be faithful. May we still thy goodness prove. Come thou fount of every vision, lift our eyes to what may come. See the lion and the young lamb dwell together in thy home. Hear the cries of war fall silent, feel our love glow like the sun. When we all serve one another, then our heaven is begun. Come thou fount of inspiration, turn our
Thank you, David. This morning, our announcements will be from our board member, Ted Newton.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for your donations to the Family Ministry Ring renovations to date. Please consider donating to the painting project by April 30th. You can designate your donations to FM Wing or Adopt a Wall. Now, as of April 24th, we were $704 away from our goal. Excess donations will be used to replenish the multi-year maintenance fund, which will help the FM Wing ceiling project. And a reminder that Sunday RE classes for school-age kids 7K through 5th grade have resumed, meeting from 10:10 to 10:50, and the Zoom link and other information are in your e-announcements. The Social Justice Committee is meeting today at 1 p.m. online, and contact Kim Hunter for more information. There will be a virtual youth group meeting this evening at 6:30 for middle and high school age youth. The Zoom link is in your e-announcements and is the same for each Sunday youth group gathering. Fourth Sunday Vespers will be this evening at 7 p.m. outside and online, celebrating Beltane, the beginning of summer and fertility of the earth. The Zoom link is in your e-announcements. The UU Monday Meditation Group gathering will meet online and face-to-face in the sanctuary and in a hybrid meeting tomorrow evening from 7 to 8:30. Contact Elizabeth McNabb or Melanie Roberts for the information. Now, individuals who are interested in meeting in person in church on Monday nights should please contact Chris Garcia and let him know by today. Ooh, I've got a little paper. My paper likes to stick together on a Sunday morning. The Wednesday evening exploration group continues to discuss the Ibram X. Zendi's How to Be an Anti-Racist via Zoom on April 28th at 7 p.m. and contact Jan Parsons for the link and chapters that will be discussed. This Saturday, May 1st, please join us for strawberry picking. Contact Kim Miner for information. Please check this week's announcements for the contact information for all of these groups, as well as a link to the UUCA calendar that lets you know what's going on during the week and throughout the month. Now, this church continues in phase 4 of the church reopening guidelines, permitting larger attendance for any activities in places such as the sanctuary and common group. However, our current masking and social distancing guidelines are still in effect, and a complete description of those phase 4 requirements are posted in the April newsletter. Now, getting back to a semblance of normal in our church depends on an interdependent web of shared immunity. And if you're eligible to be immunized against the COVID virus, the reopening team encourages you to make an appointment, extend an arm, and please get vaccinated. And we include the links to the Georgia Department of Public Health COVID-19 and Augusta University immunization each week in your e-announcements. Thank you each much and have a wonderful Sunday.
Thank you, Ted. Because some of you are here, this is maybe your first time in a Unitarian church, so some things are worth explaining as we go along. The symbol of our church, if you've seen it, it looks a little bit like a bird bath, but it's just a chalice. And the flaming chalice, which is the flame of truth and justice, which we hope to keep going as part of our duty as spiritual people and as conscientious people. This represents our flame of chalice, and the chalice lighting is one of the rituals of our faith, and is acknowledging the light of truth and the light of knowledge and reason and justice. Our chalice lighting words this morning are from Jean Rickard Rowe. We have a calling in this world. We are called to honor diversity, to respect differences with dignity, and to challenge those who would forbid it. We are a people of a wide path. Let us be wide in affection and go our way in peace. This morning, uh, we have a section of our service called Joys and Sorrows, where we invite members of the congregation by Zoom and in person to step up and share the best or the worst thing that's on their mind from their experience this week, Joys and Sorrows. Our Joys and Sorrows by Zoom will be led by our member of our pastoral care team, Pat Lynch Hayes. And also at this time, I would like to invite anybody in the sanctuary who has something that you would like to share to please line up socially distant on the right.
Good morning.
For all those joys and sorrows that are unspoken, we drop a stone. And for all of those who are unable to be with us today, we drop a stone. Another part of our service, which is unique to Unitarianism, is a period of meditation or silence. This is kind of similar to the Quaker Church, where they have a period of silence in which they wait for God to speak to them. We have a moment of silence and meditation as a part of our service at this time. Those of you who have an interest in meditation, I'd like to invite you to find out about our meditation group that meets on Monday evenings. Some of us meet in person here in the church, and some of us meet by Zoom. Before we begin, our moment of silence will be about a minute. I'll mind the time. Very, very briefly, I'd like to pass on one of the fundamentals of meditation, which is called centering. Centering is something that you've probably been doing without knowing that there was a name for it. But this is a fundamental which is universal to almost all forms of meditation from different belief systems. When you find yourself in stress, and this is kind of a variation on it, which can be very useful. If you find yourself in a moment of stress, stop, turn your hips and look over your right shoulder. Look over behind you, your right shoulder, and see what's there. Turn your hips and look over your left shoulder and see what's there. Take a deep breath. Let your mind settle as much as you can. And try to place your attention or your awareness here, roughly where your heart is in your chest. You'll often find that in moments of emotional stress or tension, that the tension is physically focused in about this area of your chest. This is where very often you feel your tension. So if you place your attention gently on this part of your chest, you have an opportunity to center and to begin to calm down. If you become interested in meditation, you'll find that this is a very common form of beginning a meditation practice. And now we'll have 1 minute of silence, and I'll mind the time and ring a chime at the end. Thank you. I'm seeing a lot of orange badges here, and that really makes me happy. This is I've had this badge about 8 years now, and this is the first time I've worn it for almost exactly a year. During that year, this badge has been in my backpack, in my van, and no other place for 1 year. It was like a candle in the window. It was like an act of faith that that day would come back, and I could stand in front of people with my badge, say hi to them when they come in the door, see the little kids running around. And now it's here. And especially seeing children here after a year of a historic plague, it's like seeing a single flower blooming after drought. It's like having a potted plant that you were going to throw out because you thought it was dead, and then you see a single green leaf on that plant, and you realize that it's worth letting it live. Seeing people I know, seeing new people here makes me excited. I feel like my spiritual path is back again. This has been a church that we have struggled to sustain for a year. Many people who had sat in the background in the past stepped up to try to keep the ship going. We're grateful to every one of those who found themselves in a moment of crisis and kept it going, kept the ship going. And I'm personally grateful to every one of them. This is the time of our church for an offering. In the past, we all felt that we had a pretty good deal going here. And for a year, that deal had changed and it was hard. And now we're back again. We need to take care of this deal that we've got. And for those of you who would like to make an offering, now's your chance to do that.
Before we begin with our third act in Thornton Wilder's play, Our Town, I'd like to thank everyone that participated in that. What? The perfectionist. That everyone that participated in that, and it was Ted Newton, Natalie Reese, Pamela Hayward, Cheryl Martin, Chris Garcia, and our own Jezebel helped them as well. And I think you're going to really like this, but I want to thank all of you. Anyway.
I'm not hearing it that well. Yeah.
So hold on, guys. Okay, I'm back. We would like to share with you a brief portion of Thornton Wilder's play, Our Town. This is from the third act. It begins with the stage manager, who is the play's narrator, standing in the cemetery of Grover's Corner, a small fictional town in New Hampshire. And now the video.
Yes, a great deal of sorrow is sort of settled here. People just wild with grief have brought their loved ones up this hill. We all know how it is, and the time, and the rainy days, and the sunny days, and the snow. And we're glad that they're here in this beautiful place, and we'll be coming up here ourselves when our fit's over. Now, there are things we all know, but we don't take time to go over them. Now, we all know that there is something eternal. And it ain't homes, and it ain't names. It ain't the earth, and it ain't the stars. But we know in our bones there is something eternal, and that something has to do with human beings. And all the smartest people in the world have told us for 5,000 years, yet you'd be surprised how people have forgotten it. That there is something eternal about every human being. Now, as our little story progresses, there is a funeral procession going up Grover Corners Hill to the cemetery. Emily, a beloved mother, has died and is being interred. She is being laid to rest next to her mother-in-law, Mother Gibb.
Look, Brother Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to you. He looks just like George, doesn't he? Oh, Brother Gibbs, I never realized how troubled live persons are. Look at him. I loved him so. From morning till night, that's all they are, trouble. But Brother Gibbs, what can go back there again? Into living. I feel it. I know it. Why, just then, for a moment I was thinking about the farm. And for a minute I was there, and I had my baby right on my lap, plain as day.
Yes, of course you can.
I can go back there and live all those days over again. Why not?
All I can say is, Emily, don't.
But it's true, isn't it? I can go and live back there again.
Well, yes, some have tried, but they come back here again.
Don't do it, Emily.
Emily, no. It's not what you think it would be. But I won't live over a sad day. I'll choose a happy one. I'll choose the day I first knew I loved George. Why should that be painful?
Well, you not only live it, but you also watch yourself living it.
Yes.
Yes, and as you watch it, you see things that they, down there, well, they never know. You see the future. Yes. You know what's going to happen afterwards.
But it's a thing I must know for myself. I'll choose a happy day anyway.
No. At least choose an unimportant day. Choose the least important day of your life. It will be important enough.
I can choose a birthday, can't I? I choose my 12th birthday.
All right. February 11th, 1899. It's a Tuesday. Is there any particular time?
Oh, I want the whole day.
And so the day begins. Yes, Emily sees her birthday unfolding before her eyes. She sees the milkman coming early. The main street, the way it used to look. The policeman who she remembers had died. Her father coming home afterwards after a long trip. Her mother waking up her sisters and her brother. Yes, she sees all of this with an increasing sense of pain.
I can't go on. It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. I didn't realize. So all that was going on, and we never noticed. Take me back up the hill to my grave. But first, wait. One more look. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners. Mama, Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking and Mama's sunflowers and food, coffee, and new iron dresses and hot baths, sleeping and waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too wonderful for anybody to realize you. Did any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute?
No. Well, saints and poets, they do. Some of them.
I'm ready to go back. Are you happy?
No, I should have listened to you. That's all human beings are, just blind people.
Look, it's clearing up. The stars are coming out.
Oh, Mr. Stimson, I should have listened to them.
Yeah. You know? So now you think you know? That's what it was really like to be alive. You move about in a cloud of ignorance. You go up and down, trampling on the feelings of all of those people around you. You spend and you waste time like you had 1,000,000 years. And you're at the mercy of every single selfish temptation or another that comes across your mind, and now you know, huh? Well, goody for you. That's the happy existence that you wanted to go back to. Ignorance, blindness.
Simon Stimson, that ain't the whole truth, and you know it. Emily, look at that star. I forget its name.
Now, wait a minute. My son Joel, right, who knew the stars, he used to say to me, he said, that star, that little spark of light up there, that little spark of light, that takes 1,000,000 years to get to the earth. Huh. A body could hardly believe that. But that is what he used to say to me. Millions of years.
Yes. Yes, Emily? I don't understand. Oh dear, I don't understand.
Almost everyone is asleep now in Grover's Corner. There are a few lights on. Well, Shorty Stimson down in the depot has just watched the Albany train go by. And down in the livery, lights on, and someone's doing some talking. Yes, it's clearing up, and the stars are out. doing their crisscross journey in the sky. The scholars haven't settled the matter yet. Some of them say that there are no living beings up there, just chalk or fire. Only this one is straining to make something of itself. Straining so hard that every 16 hours, everybody just lays down to take a rest.
Before we begin the sermon, I'd like to apologize for the speaker. It was not adequate, and I hope you know the play. Our apologies again. So Mother Gibbs says, we don't understand. Her judgment is not a welcomed one about our spiritual health. Somewhere deep down in our bones, we know all life is sacred. We know there's something eternal about every human being. Yet the way we sometimes treat one another, you'd think we didn't have a clue. Maybe Mother Gibbs is right. Maybe we really don't understand. When Emily returns home to relive her 12th birthday, she becomes painfully aware of how her family ignores one another as they go about their morning routines. Finally, she pleads with her mother, "Oh, Mama, just look at me for 1 minute as though you really cared. Mama, 14 years have gone by. I'm dead. Mama, just for a moment when we're happy, let's look at one another." All Emily wanted was a moment of her mother's time. I know something about how Emily feels. During our second year in Meadville, Pennsylvania, my ex-wife Jan was doing her student teaching. One day she returned home after a long day at the high school. I was hard at work at the computer writing my sermon. I paused to greet her with a smile. I asked how her day was. And then with the speed of light, I went back to my computer. Jan frowned at me, and she walked upstairs muttering something about a distant mail. Even with the one I love most, I can act as if I were an island unto myself, separate and indifferent. Why do we do this? Why do we not take the time to really look at one another, to be with one another, to talk with one another? I think it has something to do with the high value we place upon our individuality. We feel a bit more special and separate from everyone else. It may be our growth process that introduces into us a sense of separateness. Let's take a look at that for a moment. We begin life unable to tell the difference between ourselves and what is around us. At the beginning, it seems as though we have no sense of individuality. But there is in the growth process the establishment of individuality. In a sense, this is a way of separating ourselves from who we are from what is outside of us. We begin developing a sense of individuality. As children, of course, by saying no and by otherwise resisting authority, try to establish our individuality. Then there arises a sense of group allegiance. We identify our good with the good of groups. Usually at the beginning, we identify with small groups like our immediate families. Or we begin to go to school, we identify with our class or with our troop or with our club. And then our sense of individuality and the maturing of our spiritual awareness moves us in the direction of interdependence. Our self begins to reach out and to expand its boundaries. We expand as we identify our own interests, our own good, with that of wider and wider circles. And when we can widen our circle to include the whole universe, can feel that interconnecting oneness deep down in our bones, then we are well down the road to spiritual health. We are well down the road to gaining the understanding Mother Gibbs wishes we had. Yes, we are individuals, each one precious and unique, but that ain't the whole truth. There's something eternal about every human being. At least that much we have in common. Yet you'd be surprised how we're always losing hold of it. Like Mother Gibbs, we've forgotten the names of the stars, forgotten our neighbors. And in doing so, we have separated ourselves from the whole of creation. This from Peanuts. Hi, Shirley. Are you still into that metaphysical stuff? No, I used to want to be one with the universe, but now we've decided to go our separate ways. There is a danger when we go our separate ways. And in the last few years, it's been more than obvious. There is a danger in our implicit denial that we are connected, each woven into a single web of life, each a part of the other. Excuse me. There's a danger that we lose all that we value most, all that is deeply human. Sorry. I'm just gonna struggle with that. The poet Archibald MacLeish. Archibald MacLeish, anyone know him? Yeah. Some years wrote an article. He said that one of the problems with our culture and the source of much of our danger lies in our tendency to separate the fact from the feeling of the fact. To separate the fact from the feeling of the fact. He warned that those two things can now be separated in such a way that we can think about, even contemplate, extraordinary violence and cruelty and oppression without ever feeling what that is like. In human relations, it's what the Jewish theologian Martin Buber calls an I-it relationship. Our ability to objectify life, to separate the feeling from the fact, is a temptation. She's fine, don't worry about her, she's fine. It is a temptation to reduce people to objects, not to think of them as a part of our own self, not to relate to them as though they were a part of our own self, but to reduce them to objects which can be used, manipulated, or exploited. It is at these points, every one of them, that we are experiencing challenges to our spiritual well-being. The temptation, for example, to win an argument rather than trying to reach an understanding. Imagine if that caught on. Well, we can think of 1,000 places or times in which our own lives, when the temptation to look upon someone as less than ourselves make us feel at one and the same time righteous and unhappy. What are some of these temptations? The temptation to look with scorn at other forms of religious faith, the spiritual arrogance that besets us at times, as though no other form of religion could possibly be of any use. The temptation to analyze others' behaviors, to arrive at diagnoses, however frail the bits of evidence, and not only coming up with recommended cures, but actually having the audacity to suggest them. The temptation to impute unworthy motives to other people. My motives are true and honest, but surely not his or hers. She or he is certainly bent on great mischief, and I am appointed to see that that does not occur. It's a little creature up here. I suspect that many of us know something about these temptations to separate ourselves from the web of life. Yet the spirit within asks that we embrace a unitary view of reality, that somehow life's many threads are all woven together into a single web, into some kind of harmonious whole. This does not mean we must give up our individuality, but rather that we strive to walk together upon the common ground of our humanity. We are the same, though many differences remain. This sense of wholeness requires an understanding that Mother Gibbs says we don't have. It is the same understanding that Emily wanted so badly from her mother. Can we who are alive understand that the most important thing in life is that we really take the time to look at one another, to truly be in relationship with one another? Can we remember who we truly are, that we are connected, every one of us, with everything else that is? When we can do this, we are well down the road to spiritual recovery. And what might be the symptoms of our spiritual recovery? I would like to share something with you from the Friends of Peace Pilgrim newsletter. When you see friends equals Quakers. It is entitled Symptoms of Spiritual Recovery. There are 11 symptoms. A loss of interest in judging other people. A loss of interest in interpreting the actions of others. A loss of interest in conflict. A tendency to think and act spontaneously rather than on fears based on past experiences. An unmistakable ability to enjoy the moment. A loss of the ability to worry. Worry, a very important symptom. Frequent, overwhelming episodes of appreciation. An increasing tendency to let things happen rather than making them happen. Frequent attacks of smiling. An increased susceptibility to the love extended by others, as well as the uncontrollable urge to extend it. Contented feelings of connectedness with people, places, and things, especially with nature. Those are the 11 symptoms. They'll be in the newsletter, so you don't have to worry. Symptoms of a spiritual recovery. They have to do with how we treat one another, with the health of our inner being, with the health of our soul. Recovery is possible. So when Mother gives her own hand, let us not forget her stern reprimand to that old cynic who said ignorance and blindness is the final word on the human condition. Simon Stimson, that ain't the whole truth, and you know it. No, that ain't the whole truth. Hope is real. Love is possible. If only we take the time to really look at one another, remembering who we are and that we are connected, every one of us, with everything that is. David?
Thank you, Reverend Don, for those good words. And another thanks to Ted Newton and his troupe for that wonderful rendition of Our Town. Our closing hymn is a hymn that I don't think we have sung before, so we're going to try it new. It is hymn number 1057, Go Lift It Up. It's very beautiful. And making her debut as one of our song leaders is choir member Pam Harris, so we're very happy to have her voice join us today. 1057, Go Lift It Up.
Starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day. Go lift it up, love bless your way. Moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day.
Beautiful. Our closing words are from a colleague, Frederick Gillis. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always. David?
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blowing the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots forming course, wings setting free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Amen.